Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, where we are decoding Trump tweets today. We have a few left from July 8th, and then we're going to move on into July 9th. Are you ready to go, Thomas?
Yes, Betsy.
Okay, there will be no tapping of the table today.
No table
We're
tapping?
not going to shake the microphone.
Those were special messages being sent in.
And we've also been asked not to yell on the microphone. Try to keep it as professional as you can.
Well, that's not going to be very professional.
Okay. Here we go. This is a retweet from Cortez Steve. Today's report. Hispanic jobs hit another record. Unemployment at an all-time low. Of 9 months in history, under 5% jobless for Latinos. 8 of them have been in the last year under President Trump.
All you can say when you hear that is something to the effect of, suck it, Pelosi. I mean, really. What are you doing for those people since they're in your district and you've done nothing for them? How about you, Maxine Waters? Are you helping them at all? No, that's right. Are you going to come out and condemn this? Now, that would be your job, is to standard operating procedure. Come out and condemn the fact that Trump has made the best Hispanic job record that we've seen and we may ever see. And it's going to just keep getting better. So it's just the same statistics. Winning, winning, winning. I don't know. I'm breathless.
Well, speaking of winning, the next tweet is about Iranian harassment of U.S. warships. In 2015, the number's 22. In 2016, 36. 2017, 14. And 2018?
0. And that doesn't count the ones that they sank, of course. We didn't hear about that. So if you go up harassing a U.S. Warship now, you better be ready. So those warships that had boats come up with explosives on them and blow a hole in the USS Cole and other ships, you don't see that happening now. And you don't see ships going awry and having giant freighters run into them either, do you? And it isn't just because they removed certain people from the helm. No, this is also an indication of what Trump wants us to remember, which is Iran. Do not take Iran out of the news cycle, because this is not just good news on the water. The real good news is what we mentioned the other day, is that John Kerry got caught giving 2,500 Iranian spies a full pass into America, into anything they wanted. We have yet to hear who those people are. But maybe when the truth comes out about Iran and we see that very people who are freaking out, those are the very people who are the most guilty, because we already got told by their minister Zarif that there was all kinds of money and there was all kinds of extortion that was used, and there was all kinds of payoffs, and there was all kinds of under-the-table things, and he threatened to bring this out. And so now we're beginning to see a little bit of it come out, and I will be seeing more in the future. But Trump just wants to point out he's the commander-in-chief, and he's told them to fire at will if necessary.
The next tweet is looking forward to announcing my final decision on the United States Supreme Court Justice at 9 p.m. Tomorrow night at the White House. An exceptional person will be chosen. Of course, that is tonight. We'll be waiting for that announcement.
Well, 4th of July, remember all those fireworks? That's nothing compared to what's going to happen after he announces whoever it is off the list of 25. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who it is. If it's a woman, that may be even worse. And
I'm thinking maybe,
who knows?
Maybe Vladimir Putin.
That would be a great idea. I think he should surprise them all and appoint Devin Nunes, or how about Jim Jordan?
Yeah.
Yes, I say Jim Jordan. Let's just... sorry. Got a little carried away there. Now, the reason I say that it's going to be like the 4th of July is because the far left, so many of them, their hair is going to light on fire as soon as he says whoever it is. It doesn't matter who he says it is, but that's what's going to happen, folks. The mainstream media is going to go nuts, but they don't understand. Trump let the mainstream media vet all 25 of them for this entire time. He knows who thinks what about whom and which candidate. I'm sure he's going to make an excellent selection.
The next tweet is the featured item on the thumbnail, and that is the image of Bart Simpson coming down the famous stairway with Trump. And it's a video about his winning all throughout the primaries. It was really upbeat. And then he says, they just didn't get it. but they do now. And if you haven't seen the video and you want to, again, hit the link that I have in the description box and you'll be taken to all these tweets plus the video.
Plus, isn't there another video right there about the way the left exploded when they found out over time that Trump was going to win, and they show everybody saying, no way, no way, no way. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh no.
That's this video.
Light my hair on fire. But they show Bart Simpson coming down the escalator with Trump, not Melania, because in episodes previously, they had predicted that Trump was going to run for president. And they even show this, they remember that? I mean, it's amazing how much Bart Simpson and these cartoon characters sometimes predict the future. And so it was a whole big deal about that, okay, if Bart Simpson knew it long in advance, the mainstream media should hopefully accept it now after a year and a half or so.
No, actually, when I saw it, I said, he is so trolling these lefties. I'm telling you, putting in a video on all of the winning that he did through the primaries to remind everybody that he said he was going to do this, and he did. So people, chillax, because these other promises that he wants to fulfill in his presidency, he's going to do it. Now, I hear a lot of screaming out there that you want it sooner than later, but what are you doing? Are you getting behind the president's back? Are you pushing out his tweet? Are you helping to educate and enlighten others? This is what it's going to get us to move a lot faster, his agenda down the road. Okay, the next tweet. The United States is spending far more on NATO than any other country. This is not fair, nor is it acceptable. While these countries have been increasing their contributions since I took office, they must do much more. Germany is at 1%, the U.S. is at 4%, and NATO benefits. Do you want me to go to the next tweet? Because it's related, or you want to cut it off?
Go ahead, because then we can wrap it all in one.
Europe, far more than it does the U.S. By some accounts, the U.S. is paying for 90% of NATO, with many countries nowhere close to their 2% commitment. On top of this, the European Union has a trade surplus of $151 million with the U.S., with big trade barriers on U.S. goods, and then in big caps, no exclamation point.
That is the same exact statement and message he's going to be delivering in Brussels to the European Union of Soros. Oh, that's what I like to call it. And the same message he's going to be delivering to poor Theresa May and her collapsing government. And
tell the audience. I asked you that question the other day. I said, imagine if we were a fly on the wall going along the visit with Donald Trump along the way, what would happen? Just be predictive for a moment.
Okay, we'll do that after this tweet. Okay, so now, sorry, I just tapped the table, y'all. Sorry. That wasn't a spirit. That was table tapping, okay, with my pen. I say pen. Pen. You see, I'm from Missouri. All right. The point is, this is the message he's delivering to the European Union and to Theresa May and to Queen Lizzie all ahead of time, and to Putin. And basically what he's saying is, y'all, now read this clearly with me, okay? First off, he says, NATO, we're not paying for NATO 90%. And it doesn't matter if you want to bring your 2% up to 4%, or your 0% up to 4% to any of the nations who are part of NATO. It ain't going to exist no more.
Good, because I was getting concerned about that when I read that tweet.
What is NATO? NATO is a propaganda machine to say, for Soros, that Russia is to blame for everything that Soros is doing. When they say election meddling, they say Russia. Wrong. Soros. Here in America, they say Russian meddling in the election, wrong. That's Soros and the Queen's Privy Council, and as we're going to be going over with Michael McKibben soon, we're going to be showing that it was Sir Lord Baron George Mark Malloch Brown who was actually messing with the U.S. elections. So it wasn't Russia at all. So what is he saying here? He's saying, first off, don't even give me your pathetic excuse that you want to keep the same surplus, trade surplus in place, and yet you don't want to come up to the 4%? Forget the 4%. We're not going to do it anymore. Why do we have missiles pointing at Russia at all? Because the European Union of Soros won't speak to the Russians because they consider them still in a Cold War? This is insane.
So we're George Soros's proxy army.
Yes, we are. That's what the European Union is. And the invasion there is the attack on the European Union. And they don't even seem to notice. And now Soros is going to charge them between $60 to $80 billion in attacks to keep the invaders in North Africa. The invaders he paid for the ships to bring over and lied, flew under false flags, cheated, and actually took money from Angela Merkel to bring that invasion to Europe, folks. So I'm not joking when I say it's the European Union of Soros. And when we're talking about Brexit and poor Theresa May, this is a message to all of them. And the message says, I don't care about your NATO. NATO's a lie. The Atlantic Council is a propaganda machine. The Atlantic Council helped promote and create the Russian meddling election in the Democratic National Committee's server nonsense through Alexis Chalupa. No, I don't go for that, folks. Show me anything NATO's done for us. All these exercises we do. Oh, you mean we're protecting Germany, the country that attacked us? And now we're protecting you from who? The Russians who were on our side in both World War I and II?
I think those troops need to get to our southern border because Mexico is on fire.
I say absolutely. Mexico has now declared war against us. We should pull back all the NATO troops and leave those countries to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Period. You know why? Russia is not going to attack. To say Russian aggression was shown in the Crimea or shown in Ukraine is stupid. They actually did elections there. And of course, Soros and the CIA and the democratic organizations, whether you call it the Westminster Foundation for Democracy or you call it the American Endowment for Democracy or the 1,000 names it has to go and to overthrow other governments, especially through election rigging, which we're going to really get into in the next few days. But what he's saying is, no, y'all, it's too late. I gave you a warning. I gave you a warning with the trade. You whined and you complained, and then you saw Angela Merkel roll over, just like she did with George Soros. Angela Merkel said, come on in, refugees. Now she says, oh, hold up, refugees. George Soros told me to tell you to hold up now. So from one day to the next, after George Soros announced to the world what he was telling the European Union to do, they took a vote. And 28 nations then decided to go from one day to the next, from one thing to the opposite, to support George Soros' new tax. So he is slamming them so bad because why? NATO is not needed. You have an invasion of Muslims and you've done nothing about it. You have lost the war, y'all, in Europe. You already lost the war. You admitted it when those 28 nations through the European Union took a vote and said that in 5 years, Europe will be gone. There'll be no more nations. And so we must immediately get rid of 500,000 refugees a year until they're all gone. That's what they voted on. Is anyone mentioning that? No, except us. But that's what they did. And they also took away free speech with Article 13. And now George Soros completely controls the media. So Trump is basically saying, so that the whole world hears it before I even go there, I'm going to be completely consistent, just like I was with Canada. I said to people, why should I go to the G7? It's just going to explode because I'm telling them we're not going to do the same old vampire routine anymore, sucking blood from America. He told everybody what was going to happen. And then they got upset when it happened. And then they didn't get upset, when Trudeau lost his eyebrows or, turned around and lied or tried to out-tweet Trump. No. So he's right here being perfectly clear like he was for the G7. And every time before he goes somewhere, he tells the Americans, we the people who voted for him, his base, exactly what he's going to do, and then he follows through. So he says, no. Here's the operative word. No. I'm coming, and y'all are going to bend down to America, and you're going to stop the tariffs, and you're going to stop the trade barriers, or I'm going to charge you so much for NATO, and then when you say no, I'm going to pull out, and then I'm still going to do the tariffs. It's not one or the other. That's the way Obama used to be. Always a compromise, always giving away the wealth of America, the treasure of America.
Well, that was the agenda of the globalists, and he was working for that. I mean, it's the destruction of America bit by bit. But, now when he gets to the UK, where's Theresa May going to be? She may not even be in position anymore.
That is true.
But as we were chatting, there will be some people there with her at this black tie event, whether she's there or not. Who would you suspect that would come?
Well, let's look at Trump's agenda, since you've mentioned it.
Well, it's just so intriguing. Now, remember, this is a pure speculation.
First off, he's going to give his son Barron a 22, and they're going to open up a window on Air Force One, and they're going to shoot the big balloon and just deflate it, okay? But they're going to leave the big balloon of Baby Khan, because Baby Khan is a Muslim who believes that it's okay for Brits to be stabbed with knives, have acid thrown in their face, drive-by shootings, cars run over them, and he does nothing. London is becoming one of the worst cities in America. That's the reason Trump didn't want to go there.
No, London is not in America.
Oh, sorry. That's the slip of the tongue. Sorry, folks. But in case you didn't know, America still belongs to Britain, and so we have to finish the first revolution, and so sometimes I slip up.
And we better do it, because you know this Brexit, they're finding out that you can vote for Brexit, but your rulers are not going to let you leave. And if we don't wake up in America, that's going to happen to us. We're going to go so far down the road that we won't be able to back it up.
Well, we've told you what Soros has afoot. 10,000 of his warriors are on the street in Britain saying there needs to be another Brexit vote because the first one was tainted. Oh my, we've explained all of that to you. It was slightly tainted, and by the same people who own Cambridge Analytica, as a Strategic Communications Laboratory, which is the group with Geoffrey Patty out of the Queen's Privy Council. And so there'll probably be another Brexit because Theresa May lose her position. Boris Johnson, Bojo, left today. But remember, Bojo had a private meeting with with George Papadopoulos. I want to underscore that. Boris Johnson is such an idiot, and he was so much part of trying to take Trump down that not only did he cuss at Trump untold amounts of time in the parliament, cussing him out, making fun of the way he looked, making fun of his wife, making fun of everything. Then he met with George Papadopoulos, the person that the Brits set up, Stefan Halper, set up these frame jobs with people who were slightly associated with Trump to try to take him down. And so what we're dealing, and then Robert Hannigan from the British NSA literally was called in by Brennan to use Fort Meade, Maryland to spy on Trump at Trump Towers, okay? So what is he going to say to these people? He knows all that. Trump knows all that. So once they deflate the big balloon, and once people realize that you could raise up another balloon to say to Mr. Khan, oh, you're not going to allow any free speech unless it's what you approve of, and you're going to allow Muslims to murder Londoners, Britons, non-Americans, members of the UK, you're going to allow them to be murdered by these invaders and say that's okay, and even put out boxes for Brits to put their knives in so that the Muslims don't come in their house and take the knives and kill them with them. Oh, that seems very reasonable, doesn't it? So here's the agenda. Let's see if I can remember it. First, I believe he goes to Belgium, to Brussels, to the fake head of the European Union where non-elected people run basically a Soros happy camp. And he's basically going to tell them, kiss it. I told you at G7. I'm not changing. Now, don't waste my time. Either you come back and say, all trade barriers are dropped, sir. There are no more tariffs on you, sir. And there is free trade, sir. Or we're going to simply, he's going to simply take away the support of NATO. And by the way, that also includes the support that they get through the United Nations. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Every minute, Trump is pulling more and more money from the United Nations, okay? So if he pulls the money from NATO, what happens? The Cold War ends. We can stop all these stupid missiles. And anyway, it's going to end because thorium is going to take over for enriched uranium. And we don't need any more plutonium. And we have all the enriched uranium we'll need for the rest of human history. We don't need uranium power plants, which were controlled by the Queen. Even in America, the battle was between literally Vladimir Putin and Queen Lizzie fought over uranium in America, and that's what Uranium One is. When you go back, read our intelligence reports, look at the facts, you're going to see that what we're telling you is true. So what is he saying now? He's saying NATO doesn't need to exist because we don't need any more nuclear bombs. China doesn't even want the nuclear bombs. Nobody wants nuclear bombs. Nobody except countries like Korea that scream, I have a nuclear bomb, so you'll give me money. And it works every time. So, no, there doesn't need to be. When NATO collapses, nuclear bombs will collapse. There won't need to be. Is NATO there to fight against China? Oh, no. Oh, what happened? Okay, wait. What if a rogue NATO nation goes to war with China? America's going to defend a crazy rogue NATO nation? No. So the real issue is not about NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It is about ending the Cold War and not making it hot. And they're trying to make the Cold War with Russia hot. The Cold War was fine, and they took all that oil from Russia until Obama put the sanctions on it, which has caused sheer mayhem. But it caused Hunter Biden to become a billionaire. Oh, that's right, because he's in Ukraine. Oh, that's right. So when you put the sanctions on with Obama, people like Joe Biden's son and John Kerry's son are enriched. But when Trump puts sanctions on, it's to stop Oleg Deripaska from meddling in the American election, which actually happened. And later he paid millions of dollars to Daniel Jones to continue on in his opposition research group that took on the work of fusion. So what we're seeing here is the complete failure of the European Union to respond to Trump at the G7. So he's going to go there and he's going to say, same thing I told you before. I'm not playing a game. And by the way, Brexit, I'm going to go over and do a bilateral deal with her. And that's going to help her. I'm going to get her to Brexit. She can't Brexit. But if she wants my help, I'm going to help her. And it will happen. And you idiots over here who are going with George Soros and his invasion and now his tax on you, you're a bunch of idiots.
But when he gets over there and he's going to do the deal with the UK, he's going to say, okay, look, we need to make sure that this American Revolution is over. So what lingering paperwork do we need to get signed off to exit from you? Because you want to exit from the European Union, I'm going to help you. We're going to exit from you. And that's where all the final paperwork. People may not even ever be aware that this has happened.
He's going to say, no more contracts with Serco. You can take Lockheed Martin with you, since you own them too. You can take BAE. We're going to take it back into American-owned companies, and we're going to become so filthy rich. And you are going to be left out alone because you were hoping to join NAFTA. So you could take advantage of us just like we allow Mexico and Canada to take advantage of us and lie. Buy our goods, jack them up, and sell them to other people. Right. And then make sure that those other people have a trade barrier with us so we can't sell to them because you're undercutting us. That's what Britain was planning on. That's what Brexit is all about. They were joining NAFTA. They always said they're going to no, they're not. There's not going to be a NAFTA.
Well, they're left isolated and economically devastated, so that they have to do a deal with someone. So I see Trump going in there and doing the deal with Theresa May, saving her butt, and the American Revolution is just wrapped up. That's it.
And by the way, Boris Johnson is leaving not because of Brexit. They knew that she was going to do exactly what she did. That's her first attempt. And of course she had to start off in a very conservative, moderate way. So what? Then the parliament will work it out. But Boris left because he's caught with his pants down because of the meddling in the U.S. election and the frame-up of George Papadopoulos. He considered George Papadopoulos and literally went on the BBC and said, called him Trump's, basically his ambassador to Russia. George Papadopoulos never even spoke with Trump.
But he's going to also meet with the Queen.
He's going to meet with the Queen. But he's going to meet at Windsor Castle because they don't want Trump coming into London because there'll be 50,000 people they've already given approval to have a demonstration. Now notice, that many people didn't even come out for Tommy. Okay? That many people are coming out. Why? Because of Khan and the Muslims. Every Muslim in London is coming out and already has a permit. And they'll probably be doing their prayers too if it happens at prayer time. But the point is they have no freedom of speech. They don't riot about anything. They don't demonstrate about anything until Tommy came up. And now they're going to demonstrate about Trump. That is a complete Soros payoff. This is nothing more than the manipulation of people who don't even get news anymore. You can't even say something bad about someone who's a Muslim without yourself being locked up, not the Muslim who might be committing the crime. I'm not exaggerating. You've put it on Truth News headlines before again and again and again. So he meets with the Queen at Windsor and Mr. Trump. Sir, Don't take anything the Queen offers you, even if she offers you tea yourself. No. They intend to poison you, as they poison everyone. They will gas you if they can. Do not let them know where you're spending your last night. We know where you are, and we're not going to reveal it, and we're not going to talk about that, because we have a sense of what you might be doing, which if you do it,
well, let's just move
is
on.
Wonderful,
okay,
and it's heroic, and it's wonderful. We can't give you enough praise for what you do, Mr. President. But in Windsor Castle, don't be in any room alone, and don't take any food they offer you.
They're
nothing
desperate.
to drink.
They are very desperate at this point.
No, it's come to the Queen.
Uh-huh.
It has come to the Queen to do him in. Remember when she said she wouldn't meet with you under any circumstances? She wouldn't let you in the country. Remember when the Parliament voted to not let you in the country? Why are they letting you in the country? To do you in. Now, then you're going to meet with Theresa May. Out in the country.
I thought he was meeting with May first.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because then he meets with Theresa May. Well, it doesn't. I don't know. Could I have it wrong? He meets with Theresa May at one point, and then he meets with the Queen, and then he has another meeting with Theresa May, while Theresa May's husband, Philip, gets to spend all of his time with Melania showing her the country.
Wow, that's a great job for him. It pays off to be the first man.
It's just like when the Kennedys went there. It's blowing their minds. They don't know how to handle American royalty, you see. And this is a dynasty.
Okay, let's go back to the Queen.
Okay,
don't drink the tea.
Don't drink the tea.
Don't shake her hand.
Don't touch her hand.
Don't bow to her.
Don't let anyone...
In fact, she needs to bow to you.
Correct. Don't bow to any of them. And be very, very, very careful, Mr. President. You are a lovely, wonderful, kind man. I am an evil, vile... I've been accused of everything. And who knows if it's true or not. But I'll tell you what. When someone tries to shake your hand who isn't supposed to, do not shake their hand. Especially if they seem to be security. If for any reason a British security person tries to shake your hand, don't. I recommend that you don't shake anybody's hand. And I recommend you don't let anybody touch you. And I also recommend that you don't eat or drink anything that didn't come out of your security service.
Okay. Well, let's not frighten anybody. Let's move on to the next tweet.
We have to frighten him. They've tried to kill him over and over and over again. The assassination attempts we've posted so that people can believe what it is we say. We don't say anything without already giving you the evidence that comes from multiple sources that have been verified. So what we're saying now is speculation, but it's speculation which is simply logical. Now, when you meet with Theresa May and her little country estate...
who's going to be there with Theresa May?
Nobody.
Ooh.
When the two of them meet, she will be on her knees licking his shoes.
Yes!
Begging him to save her.
Yes.
And why is it all exploding? Because he's coming there. He's threatening NATO. He's threatening their entire budget. That's the reason these people are leaving. They're being caught not only with their pants down for pedophilia in many cases, but also for associating with criminals. The Spygate came out of the very people that he is going to go see. Now, Theresa May is going to have a black tie only meeting. Now, don't you think that if you had the President of the United States for the second time, I believe, I don't remember, but let us just say it's a big deal. The President comes there, and shouldn't they have a state dinner? Shouldn't Lizzie get off her rear and do something nice, seeing that they steal so much money from us, that they're so friggin' wealthy that her golden shares make her the richest person maybe on the earth, and she can't provide dinner? Trump eats McDonald's, for God's sake. You could just get him a Big Mac, Okay, Lizzie? Oh, no, you're not going to give him a state dinner. No. Now, folks, hang on to your hat, because what I'm about to tell you is speculation, and we'll have to see afterwards whether what we're saying is true. Speculation alert. Beep, 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 orange alert. Okay. Theresa May is having a meet with 100 business people. We predict that 100% of those business people will be members of the Queen's Privy Council. Now, why would she be having them meet with members of the Privy Council? And why would she be limiting it to 100? Why wouldn't there be a state dinner? Why would she be throwing the dinner? Very, very good reasons. Everything I just told you. Those people are going to be sucking up to Trump, saying, please, Mr. Trump, do not stop the Crown agents. Please, Mr. Trump, do not throw out Serco. Please, Mr. Trump, do not stop OPEC. Please, Mr. Trump, do not stop USAID. Please, Mr. Trump, do not bust us for NATO. Please, every one of those 100 people at that black tie event that Theresa May, they are not the people who should be there. They're all Privy Council members. Every one of them, we predict this. 597 Privy Council members, you can bet your bottom dollar that 100% of these business people will be Privy Council members who are all begging to keep their power and their money and trying to sway him. Here's what happened when Trump got elected. Crazy Soros lost $1 billion that day because he was certain he had spent $2 billion to get Hillary elected that people don't even know about. He lost $1 billion the next day. He was planning to make back some of that money because he was planning for the market to crash. So he put $1 billion up, planning to make, much, much, much more than that, and he lost $1 billion. Okay? Well, that's what happened with all these people. And then the Bilderberger got together, the Trilaterals got together, the Council on Foreign Relations got together, all the big quantum funds and hedge funds people got together, the derivative people got together, the intercontinental exchange people got together, all of them. And they said, we're screwed. Trump is going to destroy all of us. He really will destroy all of us. And they met the second that it looked like he was going to get the Republican nomination, they started meeting. And when he got it, even before the election, they were meeting in desperation in unscheduled meetings like they never have before. And now, guess what? Bilderberger says they're never going to meet again. And on the last meeting, the head of the Vatican Bank showed up for the first time ever to see what pieces he could pick up, because that's what the Vatican Bank does.
Where did you get that information that Bilderberger isn't meeting again?
They said it at their last meeting.
Did they really?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
They said there's no reason to meet. Trump has destroyed their rat lines.
Yeah, that's great. And he's destroying even more.
Have you seen any major
now,
Knights of Malta meetings?
Now,
no. So he goes to the meeting with the 100 black tie people, right? Mm-hmm. And they all beg him. And then he goes to his secret meeting, which we're not going to say what it is.
Yes.
But if we are right, I should write it down and put it in an envelope with a date on it so that we can prove it.
We can't. This is too big, and
big.
We can't do that.
And then after they all suck up to him, he's going to meet with Putin, his buddy, in Helsinki. And you want to know what's going to happen then? He's going to say, Vladimir, my friend, if you want to open...
Is he going to have that accent?
Yes. He's going to say... He's going to be speaking with a New York accent.
Okay, well, that wasn't
because he's going to be doing a deal.
Accent.
That was a New York accent,
You should just stick with being an Ozark man.
Insert New York accent.
Okay.
Vladimir, my friend, I will open up the Nordic pipelines for you and stop Obama's stupid sanctions if you will simply do this little favor for me. And I don't know what that favor will be because Trump's too smart. It's going to be an economic favor. But then Vladimir will say, well, Mr. Trump, he'll say, I don't have a very good Russian accent.
Don't even go there.
Donald, he'll say, you're breaking my back with allowing the Obama sanctions to go on. And he goes, yeah, I know. I have to, Vladimir, because Obama put them on you to make it look like you interfered in the election. That's why every time we get together, you never stop asking for the evidence for meddling. There is none. You know that. They're trying to go after your caterer, the chef from Concord Catering, for God's sake, saying he meddled in the election. And then they're going to laugh so hard that if Trump drank vodka, he'd have one, because Vladimir's going to have a vodka to come back on track with that one, because there was the Russians meddle all the time, everywhere, a little bit. So what?
Okay,
that's not what they're about.
Let's keep going here.
That's stupid. We meddled in our own election with our own tax dollars.
Right. We know it's
Obama did it.
Look, we know that it is the Privy Council and the Queen that meddled in our election.
So he's going to say, "Look, I'm sorry, but don't you get what's going on?" And Vlad goes, "What? What?" He goes, "I'm doing you a New York deal." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "The sanctions I put on you?" He goes, "Yeah, all those other ones? Yeah, those weren't my friends. You can put those on." He goes, "I know." "And the ones that Obama put on you?" He goes, "Yeah, I hate Obama. Those were my friends. He just put them on because they're my friends." He goes, "Nobody's going to know. I'm dropping those sanctions and I'm leaving the other sanctions on. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to let the Nordic pipeline go through, and I'm going to let Nord 2 go through."
Yeah.
And you're going to be rich, and you're going to say to Ukraine, go jump in a lake. You and Hunter Biden can have, and they cut out Exxon and Chevron. They cut out everybody so that the Bidens and the Kerrys, the Heinzes, could get their oil, the liquid gas and the gas there. And then they were going to charge, as they did, a huge tax for Russia to bring the oil and the liquid gas out of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan and the oil out of Kazakhstan and bring it, because it comes through Russia and then it goes through Ukraine. So Ukraine was putting a huge tax on it and stealing it. They were stealing it like crazy.
Wait a minute, though, Thomas. He's taking Russia and he's squeezing it one way, and he's taking the UK, he's squeezing the other.
Correct.
And who is in the middle?
UK.
Merkel.
Soros.
Yeah.
He's going to pop his head right off.
Love it.
And then he's going to say the following. He's going to say, look, I can tell you this, Vlad, because I know I can trust you. Because I know that I can trust you to be the mafia oligarch that you are. And whatever I say that attempts to hurt you or show you that I'm bigger than you, you have to then immediately come back and say you're going to hurt us and you're bigger than us. Okay, we got that. And you're always going to say you're not going to be our vassal. But look. I know what's going on. I have great intelligence. I listen to American intelligence media. And I know that the French and the British built a pipeline going north out of Iran, and they intend to screw the rest of Europe, and they're screwing even Ukraine. They don't know it, and they're screwing you. That's the reasons they got the sanctions put on you. That's the reason that the Crimea happened, and that's the reason Ukraine happened to you. Okay? And Vlad's going to go, holy cow, how did you know this? This is true. And I know you went in, Vlad, with China, and you sold them huge amounts of your missiles. And this is all well and good, but now they ended up in Syria. And those were the missiles used to launch against Israel. And they ended up in Yemen. So you got to stop that. So I'm going to tell you to stop that. I'm going to tell you you can stay in Syria, but you got to get all Iranian Revolutionary Guard out immediately. And you have to clear the border, the Golan Heights. And I'm going to give you back part of the Golan Heights if the deal comes through with Israel. So you get this, Vlad? And Vlad's going to go, you are the most brilliant person on the face of the earth. He says, no. That's not the whole deal. He goes, Vlad, between you and I, let's just put it on the table. What's the real issue? Those things I mentioned, yeah, but the real issue is what? The liquid gas between Qatar and Iran that you say to Iran you can pull up for them. And that China says they can pull up and beat Qatar to getting all of that. The second largest liquid gas that has been untapped in the world. That's what most of this is about. That's why they need the pipeline going out of Iran. And that's why Saudi Arabia wants to take over Qatar so that they can then bring it through. So they made an agreement with Qatar. The agreement was, we're going to let you bring the pipeline through Saudi Arabia. That's why Israel is now Saudi Arabia's friend, and they're actually flying their missions in their planes to drop bombs on Yemen. And that's why they're winning the war. There's now an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Nobody wants to talk about this. And Saudi Arabia is now supporting Israel in the war and actually using certain diplomatic influence in certain places. But the point is, he's going to say to him, Vlad, look, here's what I'm going to do for you. We're going to let you get in on Iran or Saudi Arabia. It doesn't matter, you choose. And we're going to let China have the other one. It doesn't matter. You guys bring up all the oil you want, because you know what? It's a dead industry anyway. We're going to liquid methane and we're going to thorium. I'm sure you know that, Vlad. Top secret between you and I. Now, Vlad, look, we're going to put in both pipelines. And he's going to go, oh, Lord. So the war in Syria was for naught. And Trump's going to say, the war in Syria was stupid because you destroyed one of the Jordanian working pipelines, you idiots. And then you massacred the pipelines in the north of the country. But then it is true that America and Russia and Syria never bombed the pipelines. So there's part of them were intact, but then they broke them so that Turkey could steal and the other countries could steal the oil. So they broke apart the pipeline at different places, and that's what was being fought over, is those points that taking Saudi Arabian oil that was supposed to go through. And this is the big issue with Turkey and why Turkey wants to get into the battle. And so he's going to say all this to him. They're going to talk.
No, maybe.
And they're going to say, do you want to end NATO? And he says, I want to join NATO. And he goes, great idea.
Okay, wow. I know we could go on and on about that. That's very intriguing. Again, speculation, but based upon your research. So The next tweet is, I have long heard that the most important decision a U.S. president can make is the selection of a Supreme Court justice. Will be announced tonight at 9 p.m. We've discussed that. The next tweet, I have confidence that Kim Jong-un will honor the contract we signed and, even more importantly, our handshake. We agreed to the denuclearization of North Korea. China, on the other hand, may be exerting negative pressure on a deal because of our posture on Chinese trade. Hope not.
He knows that it's true. We've told you it's true. And we told you every time Kim meets with anyone, he meets with China first. North Korea is nothing more than the megaphone of China. And China is at a war with Taiwan, and soon it will be in a war with us over North Korea if we don't get them out of it, and if the idiots in the Congress don't support Donald Trump as he breaks the back of China over these tariffs.
Okay. The next one, the failing New York Times fake news story today about breastfeeding must be called out. The U.S. strongly supports breastfeeding, but we don't believe women should be denied access to formula. Many women need this option because of malnutrition and poverty.
I've done quite a bit of study on this. I don't want to go into why, but let's just say that what he did was just making sure that formula was made available to people who were malnourished so that they would in fact be nourished themselves also, because the babies aren't nourished if you're not nourished. And so you're also, the other part of this was the food that they were giving them. And you see, they didn't link that. They separated those two stories, the food and the formula. They go together. But if you separate it and then you do what the UN did, then they basically, again, they're making such big mistakes at the UN, they keep making us look bad. And then they try to do what the mainstream media does, pick it apart, look at one piece and say that's bad when they didn't look at the whole thing. No, of course Trump supports breastfeeding. The research is 100% clear. The longer you breastfeed, the stronger your immune system. Everybody knows that.
Okay, and the final tweet for today. Pfizer and others should be ashamed that they have raised drug prices for no reason. They are merely taking advantage of the poor and others unable to defend themselves, while at the same time giving bargain basement prices to other countries in Europe and elsewhere. We will respond.
The key here is others. By others, he means China and the fentanyl, the opiates that they're making that kill people. You take one pill, it kills you. This is coming across our border. They've now seized at least 3 that I've seen, gigantic amounts of this. In some cases, they tell how many people this fentanyl would kill. These are the opiates that we're in an opiate war against, okay? Question, why would China make such a strong drug except to kill us? This is the payback for their opium wars with Britain. They're trying to kill us. If you do not believe we're in a war with China, think, why would any pharmaceutical company make fentanyl so strong that it kills you when you take a pill? Think of that, folks. It's insane. So we're at a war with China over these drugs coming across the southern border, but we're also in a war with the Clinton Foundation. That's another one of the others. The Clinton Foundation, for instance, let me give you an example. Alexander Downer, the man who started all this nonsense about the dossier, who was the contact, who did reach out to the State Department and Victoria Nuland and say, oh, did you know that George Papadopoulos knows where the 33,000 missing Hillary emails are? Complete nonsense. Okay, that guy, in his time working for the Australian government, approved what they say is a much smaller amount, but over a long period of time, over I think a 5-year period, it was $84 million to the Clinton Foundation for their AIDS program. Now remember, the Clinton Foundation is well known for spending between 2 to 3% of the money they get to do what they're saying they're doing. So in other words, 84 million Australian taxpayer dollars went to the Clinton Foundation, and they got given back a discounted AIDS drugs to the tune of 2% of 84 million. Do you see how that works? It is a Clinton tax put upon drugs. They do that with mining, with gold, with uranium. They do that with everything. Whatever has any value, the Clintons go and they put a tax on it. So this is the tax that the Clintons put on pharmaceutical companies. Now let's just think for a second. Any pharmaceutical company that makes billions and billions and billions and tens of billions of dollars on a single drug also spent billions of dollars on advertising for that. Well, what if they didn't advertise and they could reduce the price? And when they sell it in America, Sometimes it's 10 to 100 times the price that they sell it in Africa through third and fourth hand tax measures like the Clinton Foundation. So what we're talking about here is when Trump has declared war on the opiate problem in America, he's declaring it on Pfizer, he's declaring it on the Clinton Foundation, he's declaring it on China, he's declaring it on the Chinese pharmaceutical companies and all the pharmaceutical companies that gouge people, and then these people become addicted to them and they can't defend themselves. They oftentimes kill themselves. 44,000 was it last year? Killed themselves, directly attributable to this opiate crisis. And that doesn't count the people who killed themselves. Those were verifiable, basically mainstream people who committed suicide because they were on drugs given to them by their doctor that they were told were safe. That is not the fentanyl deaths. That is not the other opiate deaths. Those are a completely other set of numbers. I didn't look those up for this particular tweet. So what we're talking about is Big Pharma has to be stopped. And what does he say? We will respond. He said he's going to go after them. He's warned them. They reduced their prices. They raised them up again now. He's going to go after them again. And if they're not careful, he'll take his time out from saving the rest of the world to focus on Big Pharma. And then you guys will go down and I say guys because it's usually evil guys doing this, but sometimes very evil women too. But you people, you will go down because when he starts to focus on you, you have nowhere to hide. That's the reason you're hanging people. That's the reason some of the people who have made the most out of this opiate crisis mysteriously hung themselves in their own house. How did the two hang how did the two hang themselves? We have case after case of these people dying. So good luck, Big Pharma.